Very good morning to you. It is 7 a.m. Wednesday, August 6th, 2025. Welcome to ONNJ Mornings. I'm Ken Rosato with phone lines wide. Yeah, they're wide open. 888-658-0234, 888-658-0234. It's going to be kind of overcast today. We have a lot of areas of smoke, reducing visibility at times. Highs will be about 80 degrees. Meteorologist Mike Favetta with the full Garden State forecast. Mike, if not for the smoke kind of imposing itself on us, would the temperature actually be warmer today?
The temperature would be warmer, much like we enjoyed the warmth over the weekend and
Mhm.
certainly on Monday. But yeah, the cloud cover, the smoke, it's all helping to keep temperatures a little bit cooler. And that's what you feel, Ken, when you step outside this morning. You also see a lot of gray. You still got the little bit of burning to the eyes from that smoke that's been lingering. Although there are no air quality alerts for New Jersey, you see New Jersey surrounded by those counties shaded in orange, and that's the air quality watch from the various state agencies issuing those air quality alerts. As far as the forecast for today, improving, especially down the shore. You'll have plenty of clear air, but the temperatures begin a little bit milder. Usually, when we start off with cloud cover, as is the case this morning, temperatures don't cool off as much as at night. So we're actually 11 degrees warmer over in LBI, 74 degrees right now than this time yesterday. So it's a little bit of a milder trend to begin the day. I'll drop to 9 degrees in Tom's River, 2 degrees warmer in Newark, and 4 degrees warmer in Long Branch. A little bit more humidity down the shore thanks to that wind coming off of the water, clearing out your air. So not as much smoke down the shore. You might even run into a little bit of a rogue shower over toward LBI, south of Atlantic City, even one crossing over the turnpike right now through Elizabeth. As far as today, with that northeasterly breeze, it'll keep the clouds around, but also keep the air a little bit more refreshing of a breeze down the shore. Not like it's a great beach day. We're not going to get a whole lot of sun. And then the wind ultimately switches direction, blowing from the east throughout the day tomorrow. A little bit gustier at times with those shades of green showing a little bit more of an intensity, up to about 20 miles per hour. That should keep the clouds around for the first part of the day. And then we see the clearing for Friday with a very pretty finish to the week. So, mostly cloudy today, temperatures in the mid 80s, more showers on the way for later on tonight into early tomorrow, a clearing by tomorrow afternoon, and then for tomorrow night, we'll see that clearing take over, bring back a very pleasant finish to the week with highs climbing back into the low 80s with lots of sunshine for Friday as that high pressure builds in for Friday and the weekend, and that'll keep us nice and dry and clear going into our Saturday and Sunday. And speaking of, I think our Friday evening plans will look great. Maybe a few clouds down the shore, but we stay dry leading into a beautiful Saturday. Lots of sun, maybe a little bit of a hazy start, but ultimate clearing by the afternoon and very pretty in this upcoming weekend. So a nice weekend ahead. Just got to get through the smoke and the clouds today. Smoke is an improvement, however, from yesterday. Low 80s tomorrow with the clearing by the afternoon. Lots of sun on Friday and beautiful weather on Saturday. But there is a little bit of a warming trend, Ken, day by day that we'll see into next week. Could be looking at a stretch of 90s starting on Monday. We'll talk more about that with the 7 day coming up.
See, now that you said day by day, of course, I'm thinking Jesus Christ Superstar, 1970s,
Sure.
because you see, that's how old I am. So I want to sing day by day. Of course, 90% of the audience was not alive, but okay, it's all good. I acknowledge my age. I embrace it. Thank you very much, Mike. Or maybe I don't embrace it, but I acknowledge it. It is 7:04 right now on your Wednesday morning. We have a temperature of 69 degrees in Trenton. And in terms of traffic, take a look at this. This is the Garden State Parkway. We have a crash on the GSP northbound by exit 147, Clinton Avenue in East Orange with two left lanes blocked. And look at what it is doing. So again, this is the Garden State Parkway, and this is by exit 147. This is, again, in the area of East Orange, two left lanes blocked. Please avoid that like the plague. We have delays on the New Jersey Turnpike I-95 express lanes northbound from exit 71 by Route 4. That's in Leonia going all the way to the GWB. And we have issues on the Jersey Turnpike Eastern Spur northbound from just south of interchange 15E, 109 in Newark to north of interchange 15W, which is 280 in Kearney. All lanes are open, but there is a 2-mile delay, and that is all due to volume. We also have delays on the GWB, and the cameras are still out. They must be working on the cameras on the GWB, or the people who handle the publicity for the GWB don't like us talking about the traffic every day, so they took them down. So right now we're told there are delays on the GWB lower level eastbound. That's over to New York from New Jersey. All lanes open. Travel time, though, is 25 to 30 minutes. We're told it's 20 at the Lincoln and 10 at the Holland. 7:06 is our time, and a magnitude 2.7 earthquake struck again. Well, this time it was near Hillsdale just afternoon yesterday. It was felt across the region, according to the United States Geological Survey, USGS. No damage expected from this minor quake. It follows that 3.0 magnitude event that happened in Hasbrook Heights Saturday night. Experts say the region's old crust amplifies shaking, making small quakes even more noticeable. Hey, don't call my crust old. New York City Emergency Management is monitoring for impacts for themselves. This comes after that 4.8 magnitude quake rattled the area back in April 2024. As Mike has explained, we don't have any major fault lines or tectonic plates in our area, but we have a bunch of little tiny micro faults, these little tiny faults throughout the state of New Jersey. And if a bigger plate somewhere else has a major shift, that can cause little ripple effects. So remember, there was the major earthquake just about a week and a half ago that prompted the tsunami warning over in Russia. Now, we don't know that there's a connection, but there could very well be. Everything is connected. Remember, all the plates touch one another. So who knows if that has something to do with it. But we get little micro fault vibrations all the time. Most of them we just never feel. 7:07 is our time. We reported on a wrong-way driver who police say was driving drunk and killed a young mother and her 11-year-old daughter last week. Do you remember that? Well, now many are saying the blame lies entirely with Governor Phil Murphy and his sanctuary state policies. We'll tell you why. The Department of Homeland Security says the man that we're about to show you on your screen here, Raul Luna Perez, is a criminal illegal alien from Mexico with a history of crime. Now, here's the irony. The criminal illegal alien with the history of crime killed and this is according to police, this is not me accusing him, killed a legal migrant, a woman who came here legally, who had children, who worked, who raised her kids, paid taxes, did it the way you're supposed to do it. This is what we're talking about. People on the right, and actually the vast majority of people on the left as well now, they're not against immigration or immigrants. We're against doing it illegally. There is a big difference. And people on the left love to conflate the two and say, you're against immigrants. No, 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 no. Just because I don't like bank robbers who are human does not mean I don't like humans. You got it? Just because I don't like someone who migrates here illegally does not mean I don't like migrants. So stop conflating the words. But this is what the left loves to do. It's a gimmick. It's a propaganda gimmick that they do to make it, oh, look at that, the right wing, they don't like brown people. Yeah, the Republican Party is about 35% brown today, so shut your mouth. That man on your screen, according to federal authorities, tried to get here. He came back to the country multiple times. He had multiple DUI arrests, multiple. You or I would have been in jail. You or I would have been in jail, but something tells me that because they knew he was an illegal, that if they put him in jail, that the feds would have been alerted and they would have come and picked him up, so they let him out. Because if you have multiple DUIs in the state of New Jersey, by the second time they keep you in jail, I think it's like 90 days. By the third time, they keep you in jail up to 6 months. So why was he walking the streets? This was his third DUI. You got to scratch your head and wonder why that was the case. Because I've known other people who spent a lot of time in jail for having multiple DUIs. And that guy who was here illegally was able to wander the streets and kill somebody. That should piss everybody off. You should call your Democrat representatives and rip them on the phone. I don't mean physically. Rip them an a-hole about why this guy was walking free and killed an innocent mother and her 11-year-old daughter. You need to, hey, where are Mothers Against Driving Drunk? Where's MAD? You love to go out there and protest against the Republicans and the Democrats. You love to do that. Why are you not protesting why this ass was out on the street? You should be out there. Every member of MAD, if you're not hypocrites, you should be out there protesting this guy, and you should be protesting lawmakers who let him walk on the street and ask why. And it's because likely he was illegal and they didn't want to tip off the feds, because that somehow is suddenly, according to the left, the worst thing you could do is let the feds know that somebody in your state is violating federal law. God forbid. Well, we're not supposed to be complicit with that. Says you. Federal law does not say you can't be complicit. Federal law says you just can't be the enforcers, the primary enforcers of federal law. Doesn't mean that as law enforcement, you can't tip them off. Just like if a federal law enforcement officer was on a highway and witnessed a local crime They may not have the authority unless there was concurrent criminality with the federal law. They don't have the ability to pull you over, but they could call local police and say, hey, look, I'm telling this guy right now, you might want to get over here. And that's what law enforcement traditionally did until the asshole leftists decided that we weren't going to do that because these are the people in our community. Really? You embrace a guy who has multiple DUIs, who, by the way, was also, according to police, a domestic assaulter, beat his girlfriend and had police called on her? That's according to the feds as well. So this is the stellar individual here on the screen that the left embraces and protects, while your fellow citizens pay taxes, work hard, and get killed. Remember that the next time you go to vote Democrat, because they're the only ones supporting asses like this guy on the screen right here. The only party doing it. The Republicans are not. So what Perez here is accused of doing was they said 2 to 3 times over the legal limit. Lost control of the car. By the way, he had kids in his car too. That's how much he cared about his own kids. Lost control of the car that he was driving and swerved into oncoming traffic, striking and killing the mother and daughter. And then we later found out that he had been arrested in Red Bank in 2023 for domestic violence and had 2 other DUI charge arrests this year alone. Yet these feckless, liberal New Jersey judges kept letting him go, and he kept drinking and driving. So he could have been deported in a second if New Jersey State Police had picked up the phone, if they were not threatened with firing and legal action by Platkin, the communist who calls himself the Attorney General in New Jersey, or the bucktooth governor, Governor Buffy, who seems to care so much about you that he lets criminals like that live among you and kill your fellow citizens. I am pissed, and I hope you see how pissed I am. That should never happen. And what are you going to say? Oh, well, so what? Yeah, it wasn't your daughter or girlfriend or wife or cousin or niece who was killed. It was somebody else's. So you don't really give a damn, do you, leftists? You Democrats in the state of New Jersey. The only reason they're doing it, by the way, the only reason they let this happen over and over again is because the more illegals who come into this country and settle in major metropolitan areas, the more Congress members get allocated to those areas. And because those areas are already primarily Democrat, they get another Democrat congressman. Do you understand how that works? So in order to increase the numbers of Democrat Congress members, you let as many illegals in as possible. They live in metro areas, which is what they do. They congregate because they get all the resources here. You don't get resources in the middle of Oshkosh, Wisconsin. You come to the big cities. And then what happens is we have the census. When you do the census, everyone gets counted, whether you are here legally or not. That's another thing that we're trying to change on the right, but the left doesn't want to change it. You now know why they've been exposed, because they don't want to lose the ability to have congressional seats, because they are disgusting. Let's move on. Otherwise, I'll be all morning on this guy. 714, Patterson City Councilman and mayoral candidate Luis Velez faces charges for setting off a fire alarm at City Hall last September. Didn't you learn from the congressman who did this in Washington, who was from New York, who lost his seat because he did this? Surveillance video captured the 58-year-old activating the alarm during the Dominican Day parade with no emergency present. Velez is a Fifth Ward Democrat. He was charged with third-degree false public alarm. His attorney calls the charges politically motivated, showing a strong defense. Okay, there's video. How politically motivated do you think it is? The mayor's office condemned the act as unbecoming of a public official. Yeah, because those fire trucks that came and responded because of this may have been detoured detoured from another emergency. And there was a big parade. Somebody could have been having a heart attack, but because they were off fighting what they thought was a fire from a false alarm, somebody could have died. Velez is also under investigation. Shocker, shocker, for an alleged drunk driving incident in May. What are you related to the other guy? What's going on? In Passaic, a tragic incident has led to the arrest of a 48-year-old woman named Nakisha Martin. Authorities say that Martin intentionally killed her 6-year-old autistic son and attempted suicide at their Spear Village home. Police discovered the boy dead on July 15th, with Martin found alive. She faces second-degree child endangerment charges, carrying up to 10 years in prison. The cause of the boy's death awaits autopsy results. No homicide charges have yet been filed. If you are a mother who finds herself in a situation where you have stress, you're a single mom, there are people out there who will help you. I don't know that this is an investigation, and we don't know. There but for the grace of God go I, right? But if you find yourself or you know somebody who's having a tough time as a mom, it's a lot of work, and it's a lot of work being a single mom and having a child with special needs. Please just call for help. Talk to your church, call the city, the town, and say, I need help. And people will help. People will help. This is not to excuse anything that happened here or may have happened, but until you walk in their shoes, you don't know. A homeowner in Lodi fatally shot his basement tenant, 33-year-old Amir Ali, in a tragic case of mistaken identity. Bergen County prosecutor Mark Musella says Ali attempted to forcibly enter the Garibaldi Avenue home with a spear-like object, breaking a window. Well, the homeowner thought that Ali was an armed intruder, pulled out his gun, fired 3 shots, and killed him. Authorities are investigating. No charges have been announced. And the 26-foot minke whale that died after colliding with a motorboat in Barnegat Bay was found to be malnourished. According to a necropsy by the Marine Mammal Stranding Center, the adult female whale stranded in Double Creek Channel showed signs of thinness with superficial cuts, bruising, and an empty digestive tract. So the whale may have had some kind of an infection, wasn't eating, and that makes them delirious and they just wander where they shouldn't. The collision near Long Beach Island nearly capsized the boat, sending 1 passenger overboard. Biological samples are now under analysis, and the whale was buried right there on the beach. A family in Freeport is understandably upset after losing their dog, but it's how the situation was handled that has some scratching their heads. Francine Melendez says her 2-year-old dog, Roxy, got out of the family yard back on the 4th of July. Apparently they heard the fireworks or whatever, got scared. And when Roxy got out of her collar and ran out. So now nobody could identify the dog. Ostensibly, the dog was hit by a car and unfortunately died, but the family was only told a whole week later, and they couldn't get the body back by that point. Apparently, police found the dog's body shortly after it went missing. So on the 4th of July, it ran right out, heard the noise, whatever, got hit by a car, died. Police found the body. Instead of bringing it to a vet, the police brought it to a nearby auto garage for some reason. The dog had a microchip, and a simple scan would have then revealed the owner's name. And they could have then contacted the owner, who could have gotten the body of the dog, but that wasn't done. So we don't know if the auto body shop just tossed the dog's body with its other garbage, and these people will never get their dog's body back to bury it. So sadly, they have no idea where the beloved pet's body ended up. But if you are in law enforcement and that ever happens, bring the animal to a nearby vet, whether they're open or closed. The vet can, and it's probably because the vet was closed on the 4th of July. That's my gut is telling me this. There was a vet right nearby, and the police probably didn't want to leave in the heat, leave the animal's body out. So they brought it to an auto body shop, and then we don't know what happened at that point. It's a sad situation all around. I'm sure there was no ill intention from the police, but nonetheless, they're supposed to bring it to a vet so it can be scanned for microchips. 7:19 right now. We have a temperature of 70 degrees in Trenton. When we come back, New Jersey politics like no one else can talk about it. New Jersey Globe editor David Wildstein will have the inside edge. Clouds today, areas of smoke, reducing visibility at times with highs around 80. The full Garden State forecast when we return in 60 seconds. Oh, I haven't been okay in years, but yes. And welcome back to On New Jersey Mornings for your Wednesday, 7:20 right now. It's going to be overcast today. Areas of smoke reducing visibility at times with highs around 80. Meteorologist Mike Favetta with the Garden State forecast for you. Good morning to you, Mike.
Good morning, Ken. The brighter news is that it will be a little bit clearer than yesterday. So, well, yes, the smoke was pretty rough over the last 2 days, especially yesterday. We'll see an improvement through this afternoon as the winds are starting to push out a little bit of that smoke. We'll be left with clouds overall and highs in the upper 70s, which is a lot cooler than we've endured over the last few days. Still a little smoke up there toward Hunterdon County by Clinton and Flemington. But as far as today, temperatures a little bit cooler than average thanks to that cloud cover. You can clearly see that on the satellite picture, especially over the last few hours. Early this morning, a few shades of green there showing some light rain down south. The bigger picture showing the origin of the smoke up in Canada, and a lot of that smoke staying well to our north now. Some of it coming back around as that weather pattern pushes it in from the east, but won't be for long. In fact, we'll start to enjoy the clear weather as all this clear sky over the Midwest moves in our direction throughout tomorrow afternoon and into Friday and the weekend. So a very pretty weekend shaping up. So even though the UV is a little bit lower today at a 6, which still registers as high on the map, we'll enjoy the clear sky back to an 8 by the time we get to tomorrow afternoon. Also get to enjoy a little bit of relief from the humidity because while it is slightly humid tomorrow, it'll still feel like an August feeling. Notice that by the time we get to Friday, temperatures really begin to cool off and the weather turns very dry into the weekend. So it begins nice and clear and stays that way with the comfortable levels of low humidity into early next week. Then I think by Monday afternoon, Tuesday into Wednesday, as our next front approaches from the west, we see a little bit more upticks in the humidity as well as temperatures. We're up at 89 by Sunday with a less humid start to the week, but turning more humid and warmer by next week into the, next week of August. Overall, I think we start off our 7-day period with a little bit of cloud cover today, back to the dry, beautiful weather this weekend, and then going into next week, dry, sunny, warmer, but I think humidity builds, and we could be looking at what could feel like, Ken, some triple-digit heat about a week from now. So we're still in the thick of that summer heat.
So what you're saying, Mike, is let's go to beach camp, fam. What you're saying is it's going to look and feel like this in much.
Yeah.
I haven't. Oh, I tried to straighten it out. That's why Mike had to tap dance for me a second because I was straightening out beach camp, but not too effectively. But nonetheless, that's what it's going to feel like. I guess it's going to feel like down the shore throughout the state when we have that triple digit heat. But
Little
nonetheless, it is
tropical,
summer,
little tropical.
little
Yeah.
tropical, and but see, I'm still astounded. But you taught me that Florida is now considered tropical. I know it used to be called subtropical,
South
right?
Florida,
But it's
yes.
now officially tropical. South, you're right,
Yep,
just like the Miami, Fort Lauderdale area where
correct.
I am, right? Huh? Very good. All right, Mike, thank you very much, sir. As always, we learn something every single day from you. It's like we are at the university in an official class from Mike, who is, by the way, a professor and does teach the class and has taught the class of meteorology to a lot of great students. So there you go. It is 7:24. There's politics. Then there's New Jersey politics. Trenton is an animal unto itself. New Jersey Globe editor David Wildstein has the inside edge.
Morning, everybody. Welcome to the Inside Edge. It's Wednesday, August 6th. And if you've never heard of Joe Fay, then you've never had a really long talk with Tom Giblin. Joe Fay was one of New Jersey's most powerful and controversial labor leaders. And his rise from barroom brawler to union boss helped shape Jersey politics for nearly 3 decades. But it was the scandal that brought him down that wound up changing the outcome of a race for governor. Fay started out, he was in upstate New York, had a run with the law. I mean, quite literally, sometime during World War I, he'd been shot by a cop during a bar fight. And a friend connected him to Newark mobster Longy Zwillman, who promised him a fresh start across state lines. Fay became the business manager of the International Union of Operating Engineers, Local 825. This was the early 1920s. He quickly built a power base for himself. He kept getting reelected to 1-year terms until he'd had enough of seeking reelection and had his union declare him reelected for life. That was Fay. He was tough. He was relentless, deeply entrenched, but not everyone admired his style. There were allegations in the early 30s that Joe Fay was extorting money from subway contractors in New York City. The American Federation of Labor suspended him and Local 825 in the early 30s. 2 years later, a critic of Fay's was gunned down outside his home in Teaneck. Fay was investigated. He was never charged, and his behavior didn't soften with age. At a labor conference in the early 40s, the president of the International Ladies Garment Workers Union, David Dubinsky, proposed an anti-racketeering resolution. Fay responded the only way he knew how. He walked over to Dubinsky and punched him in the face. And in the late 40s, Fay's world came crashing down. He was convicted of extorting more than $700,000 from contractors. In the late 40s, that was a lot of money. And he was sent to prison, and Jersey was left to pick up the pieces. But, the story doesn't end there. In 1953, the Republican candidate for governor was Paul Trost, and he seemed like a lock to win until the New York Times ran a story that Trost had written a letter to New York Governor Tom Dewey seeking a clemency for Fay. And the timing couldn't have been worse. The AFL had endorsed Trost, but the CIO was backing Bob Miner, the Democratic candidate. The Fay letter painted Trost as being soft on corruption. That narrative stuck. The Trost campaign went into a tailspin, and Miner won the governorship by over 150,000 votes. This was a defeat attributed directly to the ghost of Joe Fay. After his release from prison, late 1950s, Fay moved to the Jersey Shore. He started selling cars. He lived there quietly for the rest of his life, collecting a union pension that he had never paid into. That's it for today, everybody. Thanks for listening. I'll be back tomorrow.
All right, David Wildstein, thank you very much, sir. 728 shares of American Eagle surged more than 23% Monday and yesterday after President Trump complimented the retailer's marketing campaign with actress Sydney Sweeney. Trump posted on his Truth Social, quote, "Sydney Sweeney, a registered Republican, has the hottest ad out there. It's for American Eagle, and the jeans are now flying off the shelves. Go get them, Sydney." Shortly after Trump's post, shares of American Eagle jumped. Monday's gains come a little over a week after American Eagle first announced that the Euphoria star would headline its fall marketing campaign with the slogan, quote, "Sydney Sweeney has great genes," spelled Jeans. Well, the ad prompted left-wing lunatics posing as journalists at none other than outlets like ABC News to declare during last Tuesday's morning show, the early morning show, Good Morning America First Look. It runs from like 4 a.m. to 5 a.m. or 4 a.m. to 4 a.m. to 5, something like that. I don't watch it, sorry. But neither does anyone else, apparently. Well, apparently they claimed on that show that American Eagle Clothing Company's new ad campaign featuring actress Sydney Sweeney is like Nazi propaganda for employing a well-used wordplay of jeans for marketing blue jeans. Really? Play on words makes you a frickin' Nazi? Since when? I mean, this just shows they're juveniles who run these TV channels now. Juveniles. They're like 8, and they don't get that advertising is all about play on words and things like that. That's been done since advertising started in newspapers in the 1800s in the United States. So in the eyes of the executive producer of that show, the word jeans with a J is Nazi because a blonde, blue, beautiful woman used to play on words. So let me ask you, if there were an African-American woman who were to star in that ad and declare black as beautiful, would that be racist? Because for over 2 years, Procter & Gamble, 2 years, they've aired a series of black is beautiful commercials, and they're fine with that. Black is beautiful, by the way. Nobody said a word, nor should they have. But applying the same logic to white is beautiful, that makes you a racist and a Nazi. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. This is what DEI has brought us to in the United States. Guess what? There is beautiful black, white, Asian, Hispanic, and every other shade in between and outside. Every culture and nationality has plenty of beauty to offer. But in the eyes of DEI racists, and they are racists, whites and especially white males can only be viewed and depicted as evil, and they love to call the right haters. You got it wrong. And Democrat Congresswoman Delia Ramirez of Illinois is pushing back against a firestorm of criticism that erupted Monday after a remark that she made sparked calls for her to be deported. The Congresswoman, who was born in Chicago, by the way, made a comment in Spanish in which she reportedly said, "I'm a proud Guatemalan before I am an American." And by the way, she bravely made that comment in Mexico City. So she wasn't in the United States. She didn't think that it would get back, but it did. Many members of Congress then called for Ramirez to be denaturalized and deported, but she wasn't naturalized. She was born here. That makes her a birthright citizen. Let's take a listen to what she said in Spanish.
Quiero terminar diciendo unas palabras en español porque yo soy guatemalteca con mucho orgullo, primero que soy americana.
So yo soy, when she said that, yo soy Guadalajara, I don't even know what the nickname was, but that means I'm Guatemalan, in Spanish. So, porque yo puedo hablar español también, porque mi madre viene de Argentina. So I speak Spanish, all right? And what she said was exactly what she's accused of being said, because I understood that quite well. I am a Guatemalan before I am an American. Not I was a Guatemalan first. That's what somebody tried to, no, she was saying she was Guatemalan first, which she wasn't because she was born in Chicago. And everyone on the left loves to say, oh, well, there's your birthright citizen right there. So she should, really, what choice do you have? At this point, step down. Step down. You put another country ahead of yours. I remember as a kid asking my grandfather, who was born in Italy, I said, what would happen if we went to war? Because I'd seen some war movie on TV. I said, what would happen if we went to war with Italy? Who do we fight for? Because we're Italian American. He looked at me with anger. He said, no, 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 no. You're an American. If we went to war with Italy, you pick up a gun and you fight them because you're an American. You are not an Italian. You are an American. He pointed that out. I remember it like it was yesterday. Be proud of this country, or else there are hundreds of other countries to choose from, and you are totally free to go anywhere you'd like. Or if you don't like something in this country, you change it. But you don't tell people on foreign soil that you are a member of another country when you're not. It's a lie. Before you are a member of the country that you are representing as a United States representative. Pam, we're going to forego the break if we could. It's 7:33 right now. And we have New Jersey's hot governor's race to talk about, and we will talk about it with somebody who knows all about it, Mr. Rasmussen, in just a couple of minutes, so don't go away. Clouds today, areas of smoke will reduce visibility at times. Highs about 80, and we have the full Garden State forecast now on New Jersey Mornings. Here is our own meteorologist, Mike Favetta. Mike, I think I need coffee or something to straighten myself out today. I'm grumpy.
It's a little bit of that, lack of morning sun here in New Jersey. We have the clouds, we have the smoke. Yes, we have a little bit of a gray morning, but I think we'll see some improvement with the clearing that occurs by tomorrow. So first, we clear out the smoke. It'll just see the clouds throughout this afternoon with the overcast skies, a little bit of rain on the way for tonight, and then we're back to sunshine by tomorrow afternoon. You can see those clouds hanging pretty low over New Jersey, and that will give us some sort of that gray sky into this afternoon, keeping temperatures on the cooler side, especially down the shore. Only 79 for you in Manahawkin, out toward LBI, down to Atlantic City, low 80s, and then even back west of the Parkway, pretty similar uniform temperatures across New Jersey. The air quality has improved a little bit to the moderate level, which is good considering how much smoke we saw yesterday. And those shades of yellow show where the smoke is thickest, but see how it starts to clear after 6 o'clock tonight. So we'll see an improvement even going into tomorrow with a lot of that smoke working off to the west due to the wind pushing in off of the water. Even the bright shade of yellow here, this is the smoke vertically in the atmosphere. A lot of that improves as well. So sunrise a little bit later, now approaching 6 a.m. Sunset closing in on 8 p.m. as those daylight hours are slowly getting shorter. But even into the end of the day, those clouds hanging around, not much sunshine through this afternoon. Water temperatures, however, still warm across the beaches as the high tide happens later on this evening between 6 and 8 p.m. Mostly cloudy skies today toward the beach, only a 6 on the UV index, with the water temperatures holding quite warm, and then the rip current risk still at the moderate level as the tropical storm spins a couple hundred miles out to sea. So we finish up the day with clouds, keep it all cloudy throughout the afternoon, and with a little bit of that weather turning brighter, by the end of the forecast period, you'll start to see a little bit of those clouds take over going into the evening with a few showers. And then I think by the morning hours tomorrow, left with a few spots of wet weather in the northeastern corner of the state, and that clears out nice and dry by the time we get to Thursday afternoon. End of the day tomorrow, we'll be back to clear sky. Friday is beautiful. It stays nice and dry into the afternoon, as is the futurecast, with the weekend weather looking very pleasant. So a little bit of cloud cover, the rain wraps up by tomorrow. High pressure comes in, saves our weekend, and we've got a beautiful weekend ahead with nice and pleasant conditions, keeping this shower storm all down to our south. That wet weather shouldn't impact our forecast too much going into the weekend, so we'll stay dry. 7-day forecast, lots of sunshine into tomorrow afternoon. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, just a beautiful stretch ahead. And then we're back in the 90s come probably Sunday afternoon in some spots, but well into the 90s by Monday and Tuesday. And that's where the humidity starts to build as well. So it does get quite warm even going into the end of next week. Weekend forecast down the shore looking beautiful, even for Saturday and Sunday. Pretty. And then we see a warm up down the shore as well by Monday and Tuesday. So a little bit more warmth as we head into next weekend. It'll start to feel more like August, and let you know that summer's not quite over yet here in New Jersey.
Yeah, for sure. That is indeed the case. You could feel it just step outside most
Yep.
days. All right. Thank you so much, Mike. We do have some traffic to talk about. Let's go to the mile marker. Let's see, the eastern spur of the New Jersey Turnpike right now. This is by, oh, look at this. This is the Newark Bay extension. And look at the oncoming traffic. So this area is headed into Newark, and you could see that it is heavy, but at least it's moving. That's the good news. We never like to tell you otherwise. Whenever it's not moving, we kind of bite our tongue and say, "Oh, it's not moving." No, we have a good deal here. It's just a lot of volume making its way into Newark right now. So that's at least, like I said, it's moving. We have a disabled vehicle though. That's causing things not to move on the Garden State Parkway northbound. This is north of exit 145, the East Orange area. We have the center lane blocked, and it's always bad when the center lane is blocked because emergency vehicles then have to come in and they'll block a second lane oftentimes. So try to avoid the exit 145 area northbound on the Garden State Parkway, the East Orange area. GWB now has delays on the lower level eastbound, about 25 to 30 minutes. Upper levels about 20 minutes. Lincoln Tunnel is about 20 minutes crossing, and the Hudson River crossing that we know as the Holland Tunnel right now gives you about 10 minutes going across. Well, a new poll from StimSite Research for Insider New Jersey shows a tightening race in New Jersey's gubernatorial contest, with Democrat Mikey Sherrill leading Republican Jack Ciattarelli by just 6 points. That's down from an 8-point lead in last week's FDU poll, with Governor Murphy's approval ratings slipping and the Democratic Party facing a brand problem among its own voters. What does this mean for the race? Joining us to break it down is Micah Rasmussen, who is the director of the Rebovich Institute for New Jersey Politics at Rider University. Good morning to you, Micah. Good to have you on today.
You too, Ken. It's been a little while. Good to see you.
Yeah, it's good to see you. You get me, of course, on a grumpy morning for me. Me grumpy with without my coffee. Yes, I'm very. They call me ranting old man. It's like I have the pants pulled up to my scratching.
We're going to move right past that. We've got some good stuff. We've got a competitive election. That's a good thing for New Jersey.
Yes,
right?
we do. Yeah. This is fascinating. So now we see that the Democrats lost a few thousand registered voters. The Republicans picked up a few thousand, and a lot of hay was being made about that. But yet Democrats are still ahead by 869,000 votes in terms of registered members. The question is, are those 869,000 people motivated enough to come out and vote for Mikey Sherrill over Jack Ciattarelli, or will they just stay home?
That's a good question. When it comes to the registration numbers, I think the encouraging news for Democrats is that this has been a drip, drip, drip every month, where at the grassroots level, Republicans have been beating them out by just 1,000, 2,000 registration advantage over the Democrats statewide for most of Murphy's second term. And that is a trend that's been continuing. The ray of sunshine for the Democrats is that in the primary election, 80,000 Democrats came out, new Democrats registered to vote in the Democratic primary, registered as Democrats, about 40,000 on the Republican side. So this was a discontinuation of that monthly trend. In other words, they were motivated enough to come out and vote in the primary. So there is a sign of motivation there among those voters. Now, what happened this month, the month after the primary? a couple of thousand of them flip back to unaffiliated. So we don't know how lasting it is, but we did see some signs of life coming from them in the primary.
Yeah, and then of course there's also the game that both sides love to play, and they encourage people who are not affiliated with the party to register just to vote in the primary, and then you can go
Yep,
back to
that's
being
true.
whatever who you are, right? So that does happen sometimes. Each state has
Yeah.
its own rule about how far in advance you have to do that, but that happens
Mm-hmm.
in every case. I mean, I'm right this moment I'm in Florida, but and notoriously it's happened here. I know. Um, so the question then becomes with this survey, and this survey. I think this pollster, correct me if I'm wrong, the StimSite poll, isn't this the same? Isn't it being used by both organizations right now? Aren't they both using StimSite?
Well, Patrick Murray is a very trusted guy in polling.
Yeah.
He ran the Monmouth poll until earlier this year when Monmouth decided to get out of the polling business, and he started his own firm. He is respected. He had a miss in the last election in the 2021 race. Jack Ciattarelli felt that that was something that was a real disadvantage for him because it showed him further behind than he actually wound up. But I'll tell you this, between the Fairleigh Dickinson poll last week and Patrick Murray's poll this week, you can start to say with more confidence that as of this moment, at least, it appears to be a between a 6 and an 8 point advantage for Mikey Sherrill. There's, we like trends, we like consistency, so we can start to say that that's the case. I know you remember earlier there had been this real outlier poll from Rutgers Eagleton that said it's a 20-point race. That's out the window. We know that that's, an outlier. We see some consensus around this 6 to 8 point range, and we can say that at least at this moment, this snapshot at this point in time, that's where the race lies.
And I think the margin of error was about 3.7%. So this puts Mikey Sherrill in the lead. And let's just say one thing here is that these are two very good candidates. I mean, there is
They
no
are.
debating. It is very hard if you are on the right. It is very hard to say, well, Mikey Sherrill is very eminently qualified, and she has a lot of the boxes that people on the right like. She checks off a lot of them, and that's
People
what
like
makes
her
it very
bio.
challenging, right? Yep.
People like her bio, people like her background, they respond warmly to it. I agree with you. But, and I don't want to cut you off, but Jack Ciattarelli, very much the same thing. Sharp, crisp, all over the state, crisscrossing the state. You're not going to put him in a box either. And so I agree with you. Two very, very sharp candidates. And what you want to see is a competitive race. You want to see a race within striking distance. And that's what we seem to have at this point.
So one of the things that polls are showing, or this poll is showing, is the approval versus disapproval rate. So right now, Mikey Sherrill's approval versus disapproval is a little bit better than Jack Ciattarelli's approval versus disapproval. So there are a little bit more people disapprove of Ciattarelli than Mikey Sherrill. Is that because his name is a little more known throughout New Jersey because of the other gubernatorial attempts? And people already know who he is. They've seen his face. They've heard his ads, and that Mikey Sherrill, she may be known in northern New Jersey. In fact, she was in when I lived in North Caldwell. She was my representative. Well, now she's U.S. Congress, right? But she was my district back in the day. I don't live there anymore. I'm trying to tap dance around saying where I
Yeah.
live now.
Yeah.
But so could that very well be the case that because he is a little better known, people have more history with Jack Ciattarelli throughout the state, that maybe his
I think you
disapprovals
hit
are a
the
little higher?
I think you hit the nail on the head, Ken. I think it is the history. When you have run statewide before and you have been attacked before, there's been negative advertising about you before, that goes into everything that we know about you and we remember about you. Yes, Mikey Sherrill has been in the fray, but she has not been subject to massive amounts of negative advertising, attack ads, that kind of thing, either at the statewide level from the primary that she just ran in or in her congressional runs. So she's a little bit of a fresher face. You're right that Jack, with this being his third run for statewide office for the governor's seat, he has had three opponents. or more if you count all the people who are running in the primary. And so that's more of an opportunity to remember some of the things that his opponents have said about him along the way. It's not a dramatic thing. It's not something that he can't overcome, but it's something he's got to deal with.
There's a phrase in Italy, by the way, and if among Italians, when somebody runs for a third time, they say "il pane è vecchio." That means the bread is old, the bread is stale, and, and that's why I know that's why a lot of people in the primary were saying, "Hey, you know what? He already had two chances." And the question
That
is, will third time be the charm for him, or will people say, "You know what? We just blew an opportunity to go with somebody different."
Well, that was the argument, as you say, that was made against him in the primary. It didn't work. He won the Republican primary in June very, very handily. He dispatched all of his opponents. He got over 60% of the vote. Really, just a very, very commanding victory. 21 counties. He won in the counties that his opponents were supposed to have a foothold in, had support in. He won everywhere. And so you're right. Republicans rejected that idea that he's, a third time also ran, and they picked him anyway. And so we're going to see what happens here. I think I can probably say with some confidence that if he does win, that background, knowing him, being familiar with him, will have helped. I will say that, he's got a better familiarity among voters than if he was just running the first time. So that will have helped because it takes time in this compressed media environment. How do you break through? One of the ways you break through is you run more than once. If he does not win, I don't think we're going to be blaming the fact that he ran before. I think we're going to say that it was a tough environment because it was Trump's midterm environment. I think we're going to say massive Democratic advantage, that kind of thing. We'll look at those factors. I don't know that it's going to be because he ran before.
All right. Yeah, we'll see how much. That was another thing. If we had an hour, we would talk about the Trump factor and how much of this will be motivated anti-Trump voters versus motivated pro-Trump voters. That's a whole other discussion we can go into. And it
Absolutely.
seems that
Yeah.
the polarity just keeps growing and growing with that. I could talk to you and David Wildstein. If we sat down at a table together, we would grow old at that table. I don't think we'd ever leave it. So, before they yank me off the camera, I better end it right here. We'll get together again many times, my friend. Michael Rasmussen, director of the Rebovich Institute for New Jersey Politics at Rider University. As always, thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Ken.
You bet, my friend. All right, let's forego the break again, Pam. It's 7:48 right here if we can. And we have a meteorologist, Mike Favetta, who's going to tell us all about the overcast skies, as I squeak with my voice, the overcast skies, all from our good friends up north in Canada. And no, do not think of the South Park song when I say Canada. The good friends up north who have delivered a little gift to us. I say this is in retaliation to President Trump's tariffs. Canada is sending
Oh.
down they're sending down wildfire smoke. I know Mike stays out of politics. Like, you know what, you handle politics, I'll handle. But they need to do something about wild forest management. Canada is such a beautiful place. The forests are such dramatic, gorgeous things. But you got, just like anything else, you have to take care of what God has given us. And unfortunately, when you don't, sometimes Mother Nature reminds us that we should. Meteorologist Mike Favetta with the Garden State Forecast. Good morning.
Yeah, it was a headline yesterday, especially after all of the smoke filling our skies throughout the afternoon. Today, an improvement, but in northern New Jersey, you'll experience that smoke pretty much the worst in all of the state, especially toward the northwestern corners, Sussex, Newton, and even there toward Hackettstown. Out toward Jersey City and Hackensack, the haze will be present as well, with temperatures climbing into the mid 80s today. With the air quality approaching 100, it's far better than it was yesterday. Yesterday, we were up at 131. We'll be back down to the moderate level today, so that's some good news. Keeping an eye out toward the tropics. There may be some development in the coming days out in the Atlantic Basin or off the coast of Florida. There's a medium chance for that to happen. Speaking of Tropical Storm Dexter, it's still spinning out to sea, going way out to the east, and starts to pick up speed, but those waves work their way back across New Jersey over the coming days and then eventually dissipate by the time we get to the weekend. So an improvement there just in time for the heat and humidity to build in New Jersey next week. Look at that shade of red, really bright. They're across the entire Northeast, including here in New Jersey, pretty much the highest on the scale. And then with average chances of rain through the middle of the month, it's going to be hot and it's going to be warm. So keep those lawns and gardens watered, especially ahead of the heat and humidity next week. We're dry this weekend with comfortably low humidity throughout Friday and Saturday, and then a little bit warmer as we head into next week with those 90s beginning as soon as Sunday afternoon, but definitely by Monday. And that will take us into probably what will feel like triple-digit heat about a week from now. A little bit cooler at the coast with an improvement. Lots of sunshine this weekend all around New Jersey. Maybe just some high, thin clouds at worst. But overall, next week's going to be hot. So we're getting ready for another hot weather stretch here, Ken, across the Garden State.
All right. Thank you so much, Mike. And our temperature, a little warmer than it was yesterday at this time, 70 degrees already in Trenton. 7:51 is our time. And August is Agent Orange Awareness Month and marks 50 years since the end of the Vietnam War. Many veterans, including many right here in New Jersey, are still battling the long-term health effects of toxic exposure from cancer to mobility loss. And joining us is Francesca Di Paola, CEO and board chair of Homes for Veterans, a New Jersey-based nonprofit that's helped renovate over 145 homes, giving disabled veterans the freedom to live safely and independently. Good morning, and I'm hoping, is it Francesca Di Paola? Am I pronouncing it properly in Italiano?
Absolutely, that's correct. You got it.
Perfect. Your family would say, he's a nice boy. He knows how to pronounce it. Not that they talk like that. I'm just projecting.
No, you're
There we
so
go.
right. You're so right.
There we go.
My dad actually founded the organization, so the last name, it's a legacy.
Amen. And this is coming from a guy named Rosato, just for the record. So that's why I do that. So what should, in my generation, I'm 58. So I was raised in the Vietnam era. I was born in 1967. That was at the, toward the mid end of the Vietnam era. And of course, in the 70s, as we were bringing the troops home, so many of them so damaged from what they saw and what they experienced, and physically what they experienced. What do people who don't realize what went on, what do they need to know about Agent Orange and how it continues to affect veterans even decades after the Vietnam War?
It's so surprising that many people, especially younger people, have never even heard of Agent Orange. So Agent Orange was a herbicide that they used during the war to clear a lot of the bushes and trees to, expose the enemy. And that herbicide ended up being very toxic. So there were some immediate effects. There's some cancers and things that people realized, the VA realized early on. Now we're seeing even more long-term effects, 30, 40, 50 years later. One of them is diabetes, and that's something that I've been trying to talk more about as we're seeing more veterans that need accessibility, they need modifications. We do all kinds of ramps and accessible bathrooms. So type 2 diabetes is something that they're now saying is connected to Agent Orange that may not show up till decades later, and it could be more severe than normal.
Yeah, things like Agent Orange, and I'm not a doctor, I don't pretend to be, but that stuff could build up in your fat cells and gets fat. People don't realize that your fat cells are repositories of many chemicals, and they sit there. And I could tell you, and I know it's anecdotal, but I could tell you person after person after person who was very heavy for a lot of years and all of a sudden lost weight and all of a sudden got very sick. And I don't mean momentarily, I mean cancer, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And all they can say is, 30 years ago, I was around such and such for years. And then you realize, oh, toxins get stored in your fat cells. Agent Orange could very well get stored in the fat cells and impact, as it comes out, leaches out in your body decades later, could cause things like this and damage to the pancreas, leading to type 2 diabetes. So now we have, thankfully, Agent Orange Awareness Month, particularly August 10th. So why is that so important to recognize? We don't have Agent Orange out there anymore, thankfully, but it's because of people who protested. But why is it still so important to make sure that people are aware?
So I think bringing awareness to all of the residual issues through the years is just so important. Our veterans now that were sent to Vietnam at 16, 17 years old, they were so young. They're now in their 60s and 70s, and these are compounding issues. So obviously they're aging, they're having trouble walking, maybe they're in a wheelchair, and now they're seeing maybe they have Parkinson's, maybe they have diabetes. And so it's really important for the children to talk to their parents or the spouses who are taking care of the veterans. These guys, they came back and they were not treated well. And they are traumatized from the way that they were treated when they returned. So many of them did not ask for help upon their return. They came back, they got jobs, and they worked really hard to build great families. And I see this every day with the work that we do through Homes for Veterans. And now that they're sick and they're getting older, they don't have any connection to the VA, or they have trouble getting in the system. They don't know the resources available to them. They're not great with the computer, understandably. So it's important to bring awareness to their community, to their families, to their friends, and say, hey, is this something that might be service connected? Are there organizations like Homes for Veterans that can help you? Because they've never asked for anything. There's so many veterans from that era that say, oh no, that's for somebody, those resources are for somebody in a worse situation than me. And it will be a guy that has an amputation and he's been in a wheelchair for years. So it's really important to educate everybody that might know somebody that could use the help.
It just defines how selfless they are, how giving to sacrifice your life to go over there at 16 and 17. When kids, think about it, kids today at 16 and 17 are in the basement playing video games. And back then they were volunteering. And by the way, a lot of people don't realize that, there was a mandatory draft back then. I remember you had to sign up. And then you got called up and people would cower and say, oh, is my number going to come up? But there were people like I'm sure your dad was like, call me, come on, bring me in. I want to come and I want to help out. And that's just, we had just so many brave Americans, and many of them came back so challenged, but nonetheless, their spirit never changed. And your dad, let's talk about dad. He started, as you said, Homes for Veterans. What was the impetus behind that? Talk about his vision and why this mission is now so personal for you.
So it's actually very fortuitous because today would have been his birthday. So I just wanted to acknowledge that. But yeah, my dad, he always raised us to be patriots and to recognize the freedoms that we have. My brother and I are because of the men and women that volunteer and sacrifice their lives for our freedoms and our safety here at home. So he had a job and a business, but he was a classic Italian guy from New Jersey. And I always say this because it's so true. He could fix anything and he loved to fix things. So he would go at night on the weekends after work and help veterans and fix things for them. And then he started to realize there was a gap between, where the government funded services sort of ended and then where there was a need. Veterans, that were sort of falling through the cracks. Maybe they were in a car accident. Maybe it was something like this. They were in Vietnam. They never, worked with the VA before. And so he was like, you served. As civilians, it's our job to take care of you regardless. That was his mission. That was his methodology. So then he started Homes for Veterans and it grew. But unfortunately, my dad passed away to COVID very early in the pandemic in March of 2020, and he passed away on April 12th, 2020. And since then, I took it over with the help of my mom, and we have a great board now. And so in my dad's memory, we've now expanded, just from being a small after work kind of thing in New Jersey to now reaching veterans in 19 states.
And what a great legacy that he left you and you are leaving. I'm sure Dad is smiling down, and may he rest in peace. Dad is smiling down on you for what you're doing. And we talked about how when people came back from the war, how they weren't treated so well. It was beyond that. You had radical left-wing activists who were screaming at the vets coming home, who, by the way, were drafted. They didn't have a choice. I mean, the left wing, the hippie communists in the United States back then, they were fleeing to Canada. How brave! So that you had the right to protest and scream and spit at these people. You fled to Canada to save your ass, while these poor guys went off and fought and got their legs blown off and had Agent Orange contamination. And then when they came back, you had the nerve to come here and protest them. It was the left in the United States then and I'm not going to draw you into the politics, but the left was as disgusting then as they are now. They are anti-American. I don't make a secret of where I stand politically on this show. I'm just tired of it, and I'm sure many people are as well. The left, there are ways, if you disagree with things in this country, there are ways to deal with it, and spitting at and protesting, throwing rocks at people who were drafted is not the way to do it. Let's talk about we have about 30 seconds left here. I want you to just mention some of the things Home for Veterans provides. You change their homes, right? To make their homes more accessible for them.
Yes. So anything they need to make the home safe and accessible, we will do. We will do ramps, we will do stair lifts, we will do accessible bathrooms, wheel-in showers, pull down the cabinets in the kitchen. We've done accessible porches, anything to make them safe and to make their lives easier and their caretakers' lives easier, we will do it. And we do prioritize female veterans, and we prioritize New Jersey veterans. And then after that, it's first come, first serve in all 50 states.
Beautiful. And how can viewers support your work or get involved with Homes for Veterans? What's a website?
You can find us at homesforveterans.us. And you can use the contact form on there to reach out. You can make donations on the website. If you need help, there's the application on the website. And if you need anything or you want to participate, homesforveterans.us.
All right. Francesca De Paola, CEO and board chair of Homes for Veterans. Your dad, I'm sure, is giving a big smile from heaven, very proud of his daughter. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. God bless you and the organization.
Thank you for having me.
You bet. Come back anytime. 8:01 is our time. We're going to take a 30-second break right now, and then when we come back, we're going to talk Alaska. We'll explain. You're watching On New Jersey Mornings. Don't go away.
Hi, I'm Jeanette Hoffman, host of Energy Matters. Join me every night at 6 p.m. where we're discussing energy affordability, challenges, and solutions with stakeholders and elected officials. Join me weekdays at 6 p.m. on Energy Matters on ONNJ.
Welcome back to On New Jersey Mornings for your Wednesday. It is 8:02 right now. We're going to have some overcast skies today, areas of smoke, but it's a little better than yesterday. But still, we'll have maybe some reduced visibility at times today. Highs about 80. Meteorologist Mike Favetta with the Garden State forecast. Good morning to you, Mike.
Hey, Ken, a nice improvement to our air quality later on this afternoon, which is some great news considering how hazy and smoggy it looked yesterday with all of that smoke. Air quality watches posted around New Jersey, but not within the state. So that's some good news, especially with our proximity to the water, allowing for that clear air with the sea breeze off of the water to clear us out. Good air quality down the shore today, moderate if you live up in Morris County, western sections of Essex County, say west of the Parkway, and even over in Sussex County. We'll see, again, just borderline moderate. So big improvement from the unhealthy levels of air quality that were around yesterday. With the clouds this morning, temperatures didn't cool off as much overnight, so we're starting off in the mid-70s down the shore, upper 60s in northern New Jersey. Temperatures running anywhere from 2 to 9 degrees warmer than this time yesterday. So overall, looking and feeling quite pleasant. A little bit of cloud cover around, keeping our dew points a little higher. So it feels muggy, but that cool feeling in the air. Overall, not terrible. As far as the cloud cover, it sticks around most of the day. We might get a few breaks in northern New Jersey, but ultimately it's overcast through this afternoon as those winds keep blowing in from the east and northeast today. That will be around for tomorrow, making for a little bit of a breezy feel through the end of the day and keeping those clouds around with a slightly cooler feel as some showers develop this evening. A little bit of light rain moves in for tonight, and then it clears out by tomorrow morning. So we're back to the sunshine come, say, lunchtime tomorrow. I think we'll start to see a clearing. Temperatures jump into the mid 80s and stay there throughout tomorrow evening. But I think Friday is another winner with lots of sun on the board, and it stays nice and clear and dry through the end of the week, including the weekend. Speaking of that weekend forecast, very pleasant weather as lots of sunshine to start off our weekend and stays nice and dry going into Saturday and Sunday both. Temperatures tomorrow and Friday warm back into the 80s. We see a little bit of an uptick in temperatures this weekend, and we're in the 90s as soon as Monday. We'll tell you more about that with the full weekend forecast and the 7-day, Ken. It's coming up in a few minutes.
All right, Mike, thank you very much.
You know, everybody wants a great travel deal. They want to know what the best plane deal is, what the best cruise deal is, what's the greatest place to go. How many times have you decided what vacation to go on because you had some friends that just got back from Croatia or from Portugal, etc.? Well, I know a guy who knows everything there is to know about travel. He's been to just about every place around the world, and some places twice. It's Eric the Travel Guy Hastings. You could go to his website, ericthetravelguy.com. That's Eric with a K, and he knows everything about travel. Eric, good morning. Good to have you on.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure, Ken.
It is great to have you on today. And first off, let's talk about that everybody wants the best deal. So what do people do to get the best travel deals?
I do think that that's one of the greatest marketing slogans out there. Why pay more? And here's the dirty little secret about that. The internet is a very big place. The world is a very big place. And the internet, of course, has brought us all together. And there's literally millions of places all vying for your vacation dollar. And while we do enjoy the benefits of that, we also suffer what I consider to be a little bit of travel research fatigue. How many times have you been online, Ken? You start going, you know what? I do want to go to Croatia. Let's go because my friends just went there. And you type in Croatia, and then, oh my gosh, 65 million pages come up. Where do you start? Where do you end? So yes, I think people ask me all the time, how do you get a good deal? And the bottom line is there is no magic bullet to a great deal. Now, I know that sounds maybe a little troubling off the top, Ken, but there is a solution.
Yes.
Oh, do you want me to continue? I thought you were going to ask a follow-up question. What kind of show is this, Ken? This is ridiculous. All right. Well,
all
I
right.
do have.
All right. So hear this. What is the solution?
Well, that's a great follow-up question. This is why I like doing this with my friends and friends, because if we're not going to have fun, let's not do it. No, seriously, one of the things that we've talked about over the years, and you and I have talked about this, because I really wanted to solve that question. I really wanted to help people and go, well, how do you get a great deal? And the fact of the matter is, when you understand the entire vacation ecosystem, you begin to understand that the savings actually come incrementally throughout the entire ecosystem, as opposed to, you know, we're going to pay top dollar for this, or we're going to get an okay deal on this, but we're going to get this for absolutely free. No, that usually doesn't happen, because a lot of times, remember, if the deal sounds too good to be true, most of the time it is.
So the other big question too, you talk about understanding the vacation economy system and also when to go. So talk about the vacation. What is the vacation economy system? And then how do you choose the best time to go?
You know, one of the things that I look at, it's very important to understand that every place in the world does in fact have a peak visitor system, a peak visitor season. They have a shoulder season, and they have a what I would consider value season or low season. Nobody wants to say that, but it's when the place maybe doesn't look as perfect as it does in peak season. So when you begin to understand, oh my gosh, Croatia has a peak visitor season. That's when the most number of people are there, and that's when the rates will be, well, as you can imagine, be the highest, right? So that's when you're going to pay the most, probably. Shoulder season are those times surrounding peak season. That's why they call it the shoulder season. And of course, the value season. And that can be by month, sometimes by week. And there are exceptions to that too. So when you start your vacation planning, you have to decide, okay, sometimes you have to go in peak season because of scheduling or because of flight availability or whatever the parameters are. But a lot of times I say, if you can go in shoulder season, you'll save money just by traveling in shoulder season. Maybe you don't want to travel in value season when maybe it's not. Think about going to Stowe, Vermont in the summertime. All right, well,
Yeah.
that Stowe would probably say, well, summer, I mean, that's part of our peak season too. Yeah, Stowe, take it easy. You're a winter place. Everybody knows it. We love to ski. But let me tell you something. Going to Stowe, Vermont in the summertime is absolutely stunning, as I'm sure you have been. So that's an example of a place that's not their peak season, and you will save money by going there.
Yeah, that's awesome. And a lot of people, in fact, you're right. It in the spring and the summertime, still Vermont is green and lush. And, well, Vermont is green much of the year. It's just such a beautiful, beautiful state. And there are lots of things to do. If you're not into skiing, you can still find wonderful things to do in Vermont, hiking and beautiful restaurants. And for New Yorkers and New Jersey residents, it's a drive. You could drive it. You don't have to fly there. So that's another beautiful part about that. Also, you talk about respecting the travel day. So the day of the week that you travel can make a big difference in your airfare and things like that, right?
It's absolutely important to understand that when you have a travel day, now, first of all, there's different schools of thought about airports. And it really does depend upon your particular airport. And I know, Newark Airport right now and Newark Liberty International is kind of a sensitive topic at the moment because they've got some operational challenges that they will overcome. Believe me, they're not just going to shut down and say, well, you know what, you can drive. So they'll figure it out, give them some time. But there are a lot of people that say, oh, no, no, no. I only fly during this period of time or that period of time. And a lot of times, families like mine, we don't have a lot of flexibility. But I always tell people, look, if you can get on that 6 o'clock in the morning flight, take it. A lot of times those early morning flights, they're terrible to have to get to. Nobody wants to get up at 3:30 in the morning, go to the airport. But the fact of the matter is, the chances of that flight leaving on time are pretty high because why? Like anything else, as the day progresses, the traffic, it starts to increase. And it's not just the traffic in Newark. Remember, you've got all the inbound planes coming from Washington, from Boston, from Atlanta, and those planes start arriving and it gets a little bit busy. That's one of JFK's biggest problems is they've got the space down there that they can park planes for hours at a time. Of course, LaGuardia doesn't have that problem. That's a really small airport. They got to move those planes in and out. So when you have your travel day, please use it as such. It is a travel day. Do not schedule important things on your travel day.
Yeah, really, really important. Don't say, you know what, I'll catch the 6 o'clock flight after working that morning, because chances are if you go out, you'll go out at 9:30 because of that. And it's just, and then by the time you get into your destination, you're exhausted, you're late, you miss your connecting flight, the car, you go to rent a car, the car place is closed. There are a lot of issues that could happen. Very, very,
Yeah.
very true.
And
And by the way, yeah.
I mean, that's the other thing. Think about it. Remember, a cruise is example. One of the episodes of Beyond Your Backyard right now that we have out is in Alaska. It's an inside passage. It's a phenomenal episode. I loved shooting it. I have been many times. I call it Starter Alaska. It's one of the easiest ways to do Alaska because you fly into Seattle, you fly into Vancouver, you hop on the ship, and you're there for a week. That's what we call a closed loop itinerary, where you go, so you depart and return from the same port of call, right? Very easy to understand. You're certainly seeing lots of wildlife, as you can see in some of the video that we're running. But I one of the things I remind people is, look, the cruise ship is not going to wait for you. They won't. They'll leave. So if you're leaving from Miami or you're leaving from Seattle, you always arrive the night before. Always.
Yeah, and you could relax, enjoy the hotel, have a nice dinner, a cocktail, and heck, you might fall in love with the community so much you'll come back just to be in that community. You'll come back just to be in Miami, or if you sail out of New York, you'll come back and spend a weekend in New York because you fell in love with that hotel. Who knows? But
Yeah.
that's definitely the way to go. I've learned the hard way from one time flying. We'll talk about New Orleans in another segment, but one time I was supposed to fly from Miami to New Orleans, and I looked at the itinerary, and I saw 9:32, and I said, all right, we'll get to the airport at 8:32. This is like before 9/11, and get to the airport, and they said, well, great, it was supposed to arrive at 9:32. It was taking off at 7. You're an hour and a half late. And that was Southwest. Thankfully, they said, no problem, we'll put you on the next flight. They didn't charge me anything or anything. They were very nice. Not always going to be the case, though. So pay attention and get there the night before if possible. All right, Eric, the Travel Guy Hastings. That's Eric with a K, ericthetravelguy.com. Also the host of his YouTube series. It used to be on PBS, and that is Beyond Your Backyard. You got about 2.5 million videos. I counted. I actually stayed up last night and counted. It's unbelievable. And before we let you go, tell everybody about your murder mystery dinner theater down in Orlando.
Well, it is just an extension of what I do. When you come to Orlando to vacation, there are things to do outside of the theme parks. And we decided last year, why don't we create, my producing partner Gary and I said, let's create an interactive murder mystery show. We love the genre. We love crime and punishment. We love all that stuff. And so we said, let's do that. It's called The Speakeasy Murder and Other Acts of Prohibition. You're very kind to mention it. Thank you for that, Ken. That's very nice. SpeakeasyMurder.com. It'll run till the end of the year so far. So far.
Good deal. Well, I've been there. I had a great time. The food's good too. So check it out. Eric, the travel guy Hastings, thanks for being with us this morning.
Absolutely.
We pre-tape that with Eric. I just want to make sure you know, because now, of course, you catch me with my mic all over the place. I'm trying to fix myself on cam. My mother, I could hear her right now say, "Fix yourself. You look sloppy." I'm just saying. 8:15 right now. When we come back, clouds today, areas of smoke reducing visibility at times, highs about 80. The full Garden State forecast when we return. You're watching on New Jersey Morning. Stream daily at Roku, Fire TV News on Samsung TV Plus, Apple TV, Facebook, and X. Now we're streamed live on Substack, Rumble, and Twitch. Just go to twitch.tv/on New Jersey, and we will be right back. Welcome back to On New Jersey Mornings for your Wednesday, 8:16 right now. Overcast today. Areas of smoke reducing visibility at times. Highs about 80. Meteorologist Mike Favetta with the full Garden State forecast. Good morning to you, Mike.
Good morning, Ken. We've got a really pretty day ahead with clouds, but still not overly humid, not overly hot. A cooler feel down the shore with temperatures climbing into the upper 70s, and even west of the Parkway, you have those clouds around. I think the best chance of seeing those smoky, hazy conditions are up in the north and northwestern corner of the state, like Hunterdon County, for instance, likely seeing a little bit more of that haze and smoke into this afternoon. Get a little bit of a breeze out of the Atlantic, so a sea breeze developing today, keeping us cooler and a little clearer with an improvement to the air quality down the shore. There are all the wildfires up in Canada, the dark shades of smoke showing them mostly to the north of New Jersey today, so a big improvement there. Even as we have our clouds today, we have clear sky on the way for tomorrow. With the sunshine around today, we'll get a little bit of it. High UV index gets up to a 6, which is high, but overall it's the drier weather that's key into tomorrow, and especially for Friday. You'll begin to feel the air start to dry out as the dew points drop into the 40s come Friday morning. Look at that up in Sussex County, 50-degree dew points by early Saturday morning. Feeling very pleasant, very comfortable to start off this weekend. Speaking of the weekend weather, nice and clear on Saturday, beautiful on Sunday, nothing more than a few passing clouds, and then by Monday night, I think maybe our next chance of a sprinkle, but we're dry at least until Wednesday. It's the really warm weather that comes back in a hurry, starting Sunday afternoon, lasting through most of next week with temperatures that will feel like they're around 100. It's going to be another hot stretch with the humidity quite high after this weekend. So we get a beautiful start this weekend, but you'll start to feel that humidity creep back in by the end of the day with the southeasterly breeze on Sunday. We've got the 7-day forecast. Let you know how hot it gets next weekend. That's coming up in a few minutes with your next weather update.
All right. Thank you very much, Mike. And we have 71 degrees right now in Trenton. Let's take a look at some of the traffic we have in the area. This is on US 22 right now, Route 22. This is in Newark, actually, at Liberty Avenue. Well, now it's a little lighter than it was a minute ago. It was practically stopped, and that's because there is a crash just beyond that camera shot. Yeah, you can see them slowing down as they come towards you. There is a crash right now, and it's eastbound. Wequahic Park in Newark, or Wequake. I'm not sure if they pronounce it Wequake or Wequahic. It's Wequuahic. I've always read it and was never sure if it's Wequake or Wequahic. Park in Newark. So the left lane of the two lanes is closed, and that is leading to those cars slowing down as they come in. Over to the Garden State Parkway, there is a problem at exit 142, which is in Irvington. We're going to switch over the camera in a second. This is the northbound Garden State Parkway, north of exit 142, which is I-78 in Irvington. So you look at this buildup of traffic. So what you have is the left lane blocked just beyond that. You can see off to the left beyond that camera shot by that overpass, and that is causing delays for folks going through there. We also have delays on the Garden State Parkway northbound from exit 144, just beyond that, about 2 miles in Newark to north of Essex Toll Plaza in Bloomfield. That's a 5-mile delay, and that's entirely due to volume. And right now, your Hudson River crossings, Lincoln Tunnel, we're told, is 20 minutes, the Holland Tunnel 10, and it's 25 or 30, depending on if you take the upper or lower level of the GWB to make it in. It is 8:20 right now, and a minor earthquake shook northern New Jersey yesterday, registering a 2.7 magnitude near Hillsdale just after noon. That, according to the U.S. Geological Survey. While no significant damage or injuries were reported, dozens of people from Staten Island to southwest Connecticut felt light shaking. The quake's shallow depth and the region's unique geology amplified its reach. Joining us now is Dr. David Robinson, New Jersey State climatologist and distinguished professor of geography at Rutgers University. Dr. Robinson, nice to have you on. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
You bet. So a lot of people in New Jersey hear earthquake and they think, what? Well, there's never an earthquake here. There are always little vibrations, right? Tell us about what it is to have an earthquake in New Jersey versus California.
Yeah, it's a very different geology between what we're looking at in California and New Jersey. We're in the middle of a continental plate. There's a plate boundary out in California. So what we're dealing here with New Jersey is old, brittle rock. We're talking hundreds of millions of years old. But the Earth's crust is not totally solid. There are fractures in it. As I mentioned, it's brittle. And every once in a while, it sets off a tremor. And when it sets it off here in the east, given that the rocks are old, hard, and brittle, the shaking can be felt more pronounced over a longer distance than, say, a quake of this magnitude out west. So that's why they become a little noteworthy.
And a perfect example, I guess, would be what just happened a little over a week ago off that Russian island. That is on a plate, right? That's where the two plates meet. So you had a massive quake that happened there because I guess one plate went down, right? What's the proper terminology? You would know, not me. Go ahead, please.
Subducted. There's a subduction zone there. It's something called the Ring of Fire that encircles most of the Pacific Basin. And you have the North American and Eurasian plate colliding there. One is going under the other. And that's where you had this massive, massive quake, one of the strongest ever recorded. And in there, you're talking about younger geology as opposed to what we have here in an intracontinental or intraplate, I should say, earthquakes. So they're different animals, but they still shake things up.
Right. Would we ever be susceptible to something bigger than, say, a 4 or a 5 magnitude quake in New Jersey because of the geology here? I mean, is anything possible, or are we looking at the reality that because we're in the middle of the plate, not at the edges, that the likelihood of getting anything bigger than a 4 at any time is very slim?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, in our metropolitan area, we had the 4.8 quake in April of 2024. Back in the 1780s, there was a 5.3 quake. We think there was no seismographs back at that time, and that did some damage in the region. It's unlikely, but there are notable intraplate quakes historically. Charleston, South Carolina, for instance, in the 1880s was devastated by this intraplate quake. So it's not totally out of the question, but highly unlikely that we'd have something that would cause massive destruction here in this area.
Yeah, and of course, the U.S. Geological Survey highlights how shallow the depth was of this quake. It was only 8 miles below the surface as a factor in why so many people felt it, right? So I guess the deep quakes, the Earth absorbs some of the vibration and the movement. But when you have something shallow, I guess, is that why it was felt by a lot of people in a widespread area, and also because we're not used to it?
Well, it's the combination of it being shallow So the energy was dissipated over a smaller region than something very deep. But it's also, again, that age and brittleness of the rocks here. A quake of this magnitude will be felt over a larger area, or just felt for that matter, much more so than a quake out along the West Coast where the rocks are younger and the energy is absorbed by the younger, softer, if you will, rocks.
So, Manhattan is obviously so close, just 25 miles from the epicenter. I say epicenter, little air quotes, epicenter of our little quake. And thankfully, our little quake. Does a quake like this, or if there was an increased number of these quakes, would that influence the construction laws and rules throughout the region? Or do they kind of know, yeah, we could get a 4 or 5 and all the buildings are kind of built to that code?
Yeah, I'm not an engineer, but from what I understand, yes, the bridges, the infrastructure, the buildings in this region are built understanding that a major quake is not a possibility, but any kind of movement must be taken into account. It's much more infrastructure reinforcement out in earthquake-prone areas of the U.S., Japan, globally, we hope. And it's those areas that are not earthquake-proofed, if you will, to some degree, that suffer greatly when there are major quakes. And we've seen that in places such as Turkey, Iran, and elsewhere over recent decades.
And it's just, I feel like we should have Mike, our meteorologist, Mike Favetta, in for this one too. The two of you, I'm sure, I'm guessing you know Mike. I'm assuming that you two are friends because it's a small community of climatologists and meteorologists. And you are New Jersey's state climatologist. And I know that you address weather and climate events, but you study earth science. So that's why you know geology, et cetera. I mean, we've gone to Mike about astronomical, excuse that slip, astronomical things as well. You study earth, sky, moon, etc. You're about the earth. So how does your expertise intersect with the understanding of a geological event like this? And what can residents do just to be prepared for the rare seismic activity that could occur every now and then here?
Yeah, it just so happens I'm kind of a rare breed. I started as a geologist, of taking classes in plate tectonics and geophysics, we call it, as opposed to someone coming in from the meteorologic side of things, where the curriculum's quite a bit different. So I can be a go-to person and know a little bit more than most about earthquake hazards, for instance. And you mentioned those hazards. I mean, we're not in an area where I'd say affix everything to your shells and your walls tightly. But we have had these shaking, and back in 2024, there were things that came off people's walls and shelves and such. So we should always be aware, if you have something quite precious sitting on a shelf or hanging from a wall, you want to make sure that it's up there pretty firmly. If not for an earthquake, unfortunately, we have explosions on occasion in this area, from gas explosions, particularly when there are floods. We've seen multiple cases, including a couple of weeks ago, of a house exploding in North Plainfield that resulted, no doubt, in shaking in the area. So just a little precaution when you put something on a shelf, hang it on the wall, make sure it's on there somewhat securely, or at least it's not extremely valuable.
Well, we had the earthquake several years ago, right? Was it the 2011 earthquake that impacted DC, where you had the Washington Monument get structural cracks, and that had to be repaired. It took years to repair that. So it can happen, right? So are they a little bit more situated? Because you mentioned that there was the other quake some centuries ago.
Charleston.
Are they more situated? Charleston. So is that more of a seismic area than us?
Not really. That quake had an epicenter near Charlottesville, Virginia, and we felt it here because of the brittle nature of the rocks up and down the East Coast. Another area besides the southeast area that was a little more susceptible is up through the St. Lawrence Valley. There's some weakness, and then you go west to the Mississippi, right around the Missouri, Tennessee area, and there were a series of major intraplate earthquakes in 1812 that shook bells on churches in Washington, D.C. They were so powerful and actually rerouted the path of the Mississippi River a little bit. So that's the most notable earthquake swarm that areas east of the Rockies have seen historically. So they can happen, but they're rare birds.
Now, you are the state climatologist, as I mentioned. You know all about our air quality, et cetera, as well. And we have these wildfires coming down from, or in Canada, rather, causing smoke to come down to us. And this is now becoming a recurring issue. There are debates. I talked with our meteorologist, Mike Favetta, about this. There are debates, of course, that have been brewing about forest management but we make it, I may make it sound like, oh, just send somebody out there to pick up some dead brush. I mean, we're talking about tens of thousands of acres of land. It's not so easy. It's easier said than done, but this is something that has to be done consistently if you're going to prevent this from happening. So what do we do? What steps can we take to protect ourselves? And what should Canada be doing to maybe help reduce the number of wildfires that they've been having?
Yeah, there's really not a lot you can do when you're up into the very, very lightly populated, what we call boreal forests, forests north of the plains and below the tundra further north. And those are mainly lightning-induced fires. I'm not saying there's some that are accidentally set up in that area by human activity as well. But it's such a vast area, and we see it up there this year. Manitoba is kind of the epicenter of those fires. A couple of years ago, when we were so impacted that early June day in the New York metropolitan area, those fires are more out in Alberta and British Columbia. But let's not forget fires out in the western U.S. as well. They're out there this summer. They haven't influenced things as nearly as much as those fires up in Canada. But the irony is when we get this nice fresh air that Mike was talking about into this area, it's on northwesterly winds coming in from Canada. So you've got the drier air, you've got the more pleasant temperatures, but it comes at the expense of having more smoke. Next week, when the winds become southerly and bring in that hot, humid air, it's probably going to reduce the smoke hazard here in the east. And it's all over the place. I just returned last evening from Minnesota, and over the weekend out there, visibility on the ground was only a couple of miles at best. And they have been talking about the smoke all summer long out in the upper Midwest.
That is significant. I'm sure, I said with Mike earlier, if there's any good that came through COVID, it's the learning of masks and the N95 mask, et cetera, and the KN95. This is the time to break out that pack of masks, the N95s, right? If you have breathing issues, asthma, COPD, you need the KN or N95 mask to get that particulate matter if you're going to be outside for any extended period of time. To prevent inhaling all of that particulate matter until this blows over. That's the only good thing I could think of that came out of it. And washing your hands more often. Dr. David Robinson, New Jersey state climatologist and distinguished professor of geography at Rutgers University. We are honored to have you on, and we are blessed to have you in the state of New Jersey. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you. My pleasure.
You bet, sir. It is 8:33. When we come back, we're going to have some clouds today. We'll talk about our weather with meteorologist Mike Favetta. Areas of smoke from the smoke coming down from those wildfires in Canada will reduce visibility. Highs today about 80 degrees in the full Garden State forecast in a minute. We'll take calls too at 888-658-0234. You're watching ONNJ Mornings. We'll be back in 30.
Hi, I'm Jeanette Hoffman, host of Energy Matters. Join me every night at 6 p.m. where we're discussing energy affordability, challenges, and solutions with stakeholders and elected officials. Join me weekdays at 6 p.m. on Energy Matters on ONNJ.
And a very good morning to you. 8:34, Wednesday, August 6th. Welcome back to ONNJ Mornings. I'm Ken Rosato. Phone lines open at 888-658-0234. Some overcast overcast skies. Overcast. Skies will be overcast. English. Areas of smoke from Canada will reduce visibility at times. Highs about 80. Meteorologist Mike Favetta has the full Garden State forecast. Mike, we should have, bad planning on my part, we should have had you in that interview. I'm sure you and the doc could have geeked out on climatology and whatnot.
You
And I
can't,
don't mean that in a
we would
negative.
have gone on till this afternoon. It would have been the On New Jersey Day show, because I've known Dr. Robinson. I met him back in, oh my gosh, almost 20 years ago, over at Liberty
Wow.
Science Center. It was a little symposium, and we were talking, and yeah, to learn that he started out as a geologist and then transitioned into climatology. Very knowledgeable on all things New Jersey, specifically with how. Could you imagine, with family up in Bergen County, 5 minutes from the epicenter of yesterday's aftershock, and then the text thread going, "Oh my goodness, was the house collapsed next door that they're doing construction on?" It's like, no, everything's okay.
No.
But yeah, these it's a different type of earthquake that we feel here in New Jersey, as opposed to out west, where you have some more swaying, but loud crashes all across New Jersey, and yet they're not car accidents. So here we go with another round of interesting weather. So we have the wildfire smoke, we have the earthquakes, yet the weather is kind of quiet today. Going into this afternoon, at least for now, we stay clear with a few clouds around, overcast developing through the afternoon, a little bit of rain tonight, and then it's nice and dry with tomorrow's weather turning sunny by the end of the day. So yeah, it's looking pretty gray, especially toward Monmouth and Ocean County. You see those clouds reflected there on the visible satellite as the sun rises. The brighter shades show the higher cloud tops. Cloudy at the shore this afternoon, but an improvement to the air quality. Some great news with that wind coming in from the east. Like Dr. Robinson was saying, those northwest winds tend to bring in the smoke, and that's the case up there in Sussex County, where you have lower air quality in the northwestern corner of New Jersey, but even that should clear by the end of the day. So there's that clear air being blown in by the sea breeze, blowing all of the smoke back off to the north and west and keeping it there even into tonight and tomorrow morning. So a big improvement, even with the, oh, look at that nice clearing, especially with that clear air coming in from the ocean throughout the day today, keeping the smoke and blowing it to the north and west and clearing our air for a much healthier day tomorrow, respiratory wise. Sunset 8:06 this evening, and with a nice cloudy finish to the day, we'll probably see more of that hazy, cloudy sunset, just like we did last night. A big improvement in water temperatures, holding in the mid 70s, high tide happening between 6 and 8 p.m., and the beaches looking cloudy and gray today, but again, brighter days ahead, especially tomorrow, with just a moderate risk of rip currents. Throughout this afternoon, as the clouds take over, a couple showers this evening, more rain on the way for tonight, very light, very spotty, nothing heavy at all. And then by tomorrow morning, with another gray start, we clear out by later on in the afternoon. So it takes some time for ultimately the clouds to clear, but it will be a beautiful Friday and a beautiful start to the weekend as that high pressure swings on down from the northeast and allows for a nice clearing going into this weekend. It should keep a lot of the clouds to our south for the upcoming weekend, especially into Saturday and Sunday. Maybe some high thin clouds throughout our day on Saturday, but this low that would ultimately bring rain to us is steered out to sea. And so that'll keep us nice and clear going into the upcoming weekend. Saturday and Sunday, thin clouds at worst, but lots of sun otherwise. Temperatures warm into the upper 80s. And then we're back in the 90s as soon as Monday. Forecast updated, 94 on Tuesday. So yeah, it's going to be hot in a hurry early next week with the heat and humidity back. Weather improves tomorrow afternoon. We stay sunny and dry throughout Friday, Saturday, Sunday, but big heat on the way, even at the shore, come early next week. So getting ready for our next round of hot weather early next week, Ken.
You will be prepared for it, Mike, as I will take you there. Let's see. But you know what? Pam, are we all set with the camera? Do you have a second? All right. Pam, can you punch up beach cam? Because I just want to show Mike. This is what's headed. I'm going to blow the hot air from here. This is beach cam in Fort Lauderdale. So I will go out today and I'll go and blow all of this north so that by next week, the 92 degrees in humidity that we have right outside, right now where I am, will be north. So you see that? But it's not so bad to look at in the meantime. Not so bad, right? Not so bad.
Not so bad.
All right,
No,
Mike,
nice.
you and I take a vote. Would you like to do the morning show? We'll take Rocco and Nino and your wife and take them all down here. We'll do the morning show for a week from right there on that balcony.
Ken, it wouldn't be the first time. We did it from Orlando twice. Poolside from a resort in Orlando.
Joe?
Yeah. Yeah, we
Gerald
did it.
and
We
Lisa,
did
what
it
is
back
going
in the
on?
day. So we'll have to go a
My
little further
gosh.
south. We'll enter the tropics and do it from the Fort Lauderdale area. That'll be nice.
I think we need to do that. We have to get a little of this, when we get off the air today.
Actually, I
All
have a
right. Thank
photo
you
right
very
here. I'll
much.
show you. Hold on one sec. Nino
Yes.
loves flying on a plane. So this is him just looking out the window from our last trip to Florida. Just sitting there
What a
enjoying
treat.
the
I
view. Mm-hmm.
I love
Yep.
that. You've got to bring Nino on camera. I'm sorry.
I think we'll have to
That's
do that.
that's not enough. Seeing the back of his head is not enough. All right, sir. Thank you very much.
You
We
bet.
will check back with you, Mike. Thank you, sir. It is there are 71 degrees right now. Actually, getting up there. It was 67 a few hours ago in Trenton. And in terms of weather, in terms of traffic, rather, right now we have a crash to report on 287 southbound, south of exit 44, which is 202 in Boonton. A vehicle fire I-280 eastbound at exit 11, Freeway Drive west in Orange City, the city itself, and the right shoulder and the ramp lane are closed. Garden State Parkway crash northbound north of 142, which is I-78 in Irvington. Delays on the GWB upper and lower level right now, seeing 25 minutes, 20 minutes at the Lincoln, and only 10 minutes at the Holland. Well, Monster Jam is rolling into Newark. I want to use weird voices when I talk about Monster Jam. I don't know why. It's bringing something brand new. It's the Bailey Circuit truck inspired by Ringling's robotic pup, making its debut at Prudential Center this Friday through Sunday, August 8th through the 10th, driven by Brianna Mahan, the 2019 Best Trick Champion and Trailblazer behind the wheel. Welcome to you, Brianna.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Nice to have you. I went online. I was looking at the way you drive. You drive unbelievably well. Actually, you could go at any New Jersey area roadway and see people driving like that on the highway every day. It's kind of crazy.
I feel like that in Florida some days.
Well, I live halftime. I'm in South Florida right now talking to you. I'm in Fort Lauderdale, so I see it on 95 here. I'm that guy in the right lane doing 70 while everybody's doing 114 in the middle lanes. So it's just insanity here. So tell us what people can expect this weekend with your Monster Jam. I can't wait to check this out. I'll be in town.
Man, I'm so excited to come back to New Jersey and bring Bailey Circuit for the first time ever. It is unscripted, unreal, and you get to see Bailey Circuit herself. She will have her own autograph line at Pit Party, and she'll be out there dancing around. And really just come check us out. If you've never been to Monster Jam, you do not want to miss this.
So what inspired the whole design of Bailey Circuit? I'm just curious. So why is it different from other trucks?
So Ringling has come back full force, and Bailey Circuit is their star of the show. She's the robotic pup that everyone has fallen in love with, and she wanted her very own Monster Jam truck. And how cool was that to start this collaboration with Monster Jam and Ringling and really just combine two powerhouse entities of Feld Entertainment to just create this one of a kind collaboration. There's never been another circus inspired Monster Jam truck. And, the story behind Bailey is so amazing. And now we get to bring that to truck form and bring that around the country for everyone to see and really just get a whole new generation of fans interested in not only Monster Jam, but the greatest show on earth, Ringling, as well.
I saw online one trick you do where you take the truck, and excuse my use of the vernacular, where you had the truck on its nose and then you scrape the hood up and everything. It was so cool. You balance the truck up like this. I mean, I don't think people understand the kind of skills that it takes to do something like that. And what does it mean for you to be the first ever driver of Bailey Circuit?
Yeah, so that is something that we do in our two-wheel skills competition, and we call that a stoppie, or you can turn it into a moonwalk, which is where you're going forward and backwards. You can turn it into a lot of things, and it does take some practice. We get to go to Monster Jam University every so often and really try to hone in our skills and learn these stunts. And I always like to say I make my puppy beg for some snacks like that. And Bailey's no different. She loves her little computer chip snacks. But it's such an honor to be the face of Bailey Circuit. And it's not the first truck I've debuted. I got to design and debut my very own Monster Jam truck a handful of years back called Whiplash as well. And it's so humbling and so honoring to be able to continue to bring new brands to Monster Jam and be the face of this awesome collaboration.
Well, you started as a dancer, which I'm sure a lot of folks don't realize, and then you moved into motorsports. How does that transition happen? And do you kind of bring your the skills of being, I guess, balanced and whatnot for dancing? Is there a translation into the trucks?
So I was severely uncoordinated as a child, and my parents thought putting me in dance would help gain me some coordination, some gymnastics. I don't know that it entirely worked. I did enjoy dancing, but motorsports was where my heart lies, and I started riding dirt bikes. At the age of like 5, I started riding four-wheelers and snowmobiles at the age of 3. And so, just to really progress in motorsports was such an amazing life. I was able to go professional in motocross, and I even dabbled in some dirt track racing for a little bit with sprint cars, but all those roads led right here to Monster Jam, which everything kind of comes together and really helps my driving style and has helped me be so successful.
Well, you've been a trailblazer for sure for women in Monster Jam. And how do you hope that this would inspire some young fans, especially girls?
I've got to do this for over a decade. I've got to travel the world and really just use my platform to show women everywhere that we can do this. We can compete at this level. We can be in male dominated motorsports and we can succeed. And I think the coolest thing about all of it now is I'm a mom. So I have a daughter who is, I always call her, she is feral. She's 2 and she's already in love with motorsports. And so now I get to be her role model and really show her that women can do everything and moms can do it too.
See, and this is the thing. Women, I can't say the same of men. Women can do everything. Women can do things men cannot do. And you do it all extraordinarily well. So I acknowledge that. And without women, I wouldn't be sitting here. So thank God for you and all you do. You're an amazing person. You could see her at Prudential Center in Newark this weekend. Monster truck driver extraordinaire Brianna Mahan. Thank you for joining us this morning. Come back when you're in town again. Can't wait to check out the show.
Thank you for having me.
You bet. It is 71 degrees. It's fun. By the way, until you go see the show, check her out online. The stuff that she does is unbelievable, and it takes some serious skills. We're going to have overcast skies today, areas of smoke from Canada reducing visibility at times, highs about 80. The full Garden State forecast when we return. You're watching ONNJ Mornings, stream daily on Roku, Fire TV, News Zone, Samsung TV Plus, Apple TV, Facebook, X. Stream live as well on Substack, Rumble, and Twitch. Go to twitch.tv/ONNJ. We will be right back. And a very good morning to you. It is Wednesday, 8:48 is our time, 71 degrees midway through the week. You've made it. Welcome back to ONNJ Mornings. We're going to have overcast skies today, areas of smoke reducing visibility at times, highs about 80. Meteorologist Mike Favetta. A final check of the morning Garden State forecast for you. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, Ken. I'm kind of excited that you're back next week in New Jersey. You get to experience the heat and humidity with all of us. We suffer together, right? We in New Jersey love to suffer together because we commiserate about it, don't we?
Yes, it's true.
Yes, we do. It's as Pam, our director in our ear, who loves the cool, refreshing fall feel, just goes, ugh, yes. It's going to be one of those weeks. Hey, but it will be a great week to head to the beach. The pool will have clear air by then. So good news on all fronts. And with a little bit of smoke that's around this morning, dissipating by this afternoon, there's still some smoky icons up in northwestern New Jersey where you'll see the thickest of the smoke today, but it pales in comparison to the very hazy conditions and the smoky skies yesterday. A big improvement in the forecast today with that northeasterly breeze from Newark, Hackensack, and Jersey City today. Temperatures close to average, holding in the mid 80s. Okay, the update to the air quality shows that there is a little bit of an improvement there toward the northwestern corner of the state. A moderate level of air quality anytime it's under 100 it's in check, and that's some good news. Down toward the tropics, might be some development off the coast of Florida, as in the Atlantic Basin. We have been watching Tropical Storm Dexter go out to sea, but the good news is that even though the wave energy is approaching the New Jersey shoreline for a moderate risk of rip currents, that'll improve by this upcoming weekend. The heat is going to be back. Look at this shade of cherry red from the middle toward the end of August, forecasting big time heat, extended heat that extends all the way back into the Midwest. So yeah, it'll be present in the Northeast. It'll be a heat wave for pretty much of the country this time next week, with drier than average conditions as well heading into the middle of the month. So with the little bit of wet weather that we endured, actually see some mushrooms sprouting in the lawns. So yeah, it's been a little wet. We'll see that dry out, especially this weekend, with some drier, less humid weather forecast and sunshine going into Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Hot weather by the end of the weekend. You'll start to feel it with the humidity building by Sunday afternoon. And then we're in the 90s on Monday, 90s on Tuesday. Could be feeling like 100 as soon as Wednesday. So some hot weather ahead in just a few days. Enjoy the dry, cooler feel down the shore with temperatures approaching 80 each day. Low humidity as well. But even you can escape that heat and humidity come Monday and Tuesday with that warm weather approaching just about a few days from now, Ken.
All right. Well, I'm catching a flight right after this morning's show to New Jersey. So tomorrow morning, I won't have a beach camp for you. I'll have a basement camp. But so I'll be enjoying the last day of one of the last days of overcast or whatever, and then we'll be together next week with the heat and humidity. Thank you so much, Mike. Enjoy your day. We'll catch you in the
See you
morning.
tomorrow.
All right, my friend. You bet. Let's see, 71 degrees right now in terms of traffic. We have a crash on Route 9 southbound north of Route 45 in South Amboy. The right lane of 2 lanes are closed. And let's take a look on I-280. This is 280 at Eisenhower Parkway. We're using this for two purposes. Look at the smoke. Look at how smoky that shot is. You really see the particulate matter in the air right there. Very good to illustrate. Look, people have their lights on. See that? That is intense at how smoky that area is. And to think that it made its way all the way from the thicks of Canada, all the way up north down to that part of New Jersey. So this is Eisenhower Parkway area. So that is what, near Roseland and that part of 280. And that's what you're looking at right now. We also have a crash on 287 southbound, south of 202 in Boonton with the right shoulder closed. And right now, your Hudson River crossings are only 10 minutes at the Holland, 10 to 15 at the Lincoln, and 25 minutes right now, upper and lower level approaches across into Manhattan. We do not have those cameras. They've been out all week, and that is, they take them down for maintenance every now and then. So I think that's what's going on. Maybe we'll get new bright high-def cams when all is said and done. 8:52, a magnitude 2.7 earthquake struck near Hillsdale just afternoon yesterday. It was felt all across the region. We've been talking about this. According to the U.S. Geological Survey, no damage was reported from the minor quake. That follows a 3.0 magnitude event that happened in Hasbrook Heights on Saturday night. Experts say the region's old crust amplifies the shaking, making small quakes more noticeable. New York City Emergency Management is monitoring for impacts, and this comes after a 4.8 magnitude quake rattled the area in April of 2024. We reported on a wrong-way driver who police say was driving drunk and killed a young mother and her 11-year-old daughter last week. Well, now many are saying the blame lies entirely with Governor Phil Murphy and his sanctuary state policies. The Department of Homeland Security says Raul Luna Perez is a criminal illegal alien from Mexico with a history of crime. Back on July 26th, investigators say Luna Perez was way over the legal limit when he lost control of the car that he was driving and swerved into oncoming traffic, striking and killing a mother and daughter. A mother and daughter who were here, by the way, from El Salvador. They migrated here legally. They are tax-paying legal residents of the United States. And they were minding their own business, driving correctly. They're not breaking any laws, and they were killed by this illegal who, by the way, had 2 other DUIs and an arrest for domestic violence. Imagine this happened in Red Bank in 2023. So under the Biden administration, this clown had domestic violence arrests, multiple DUIs. In fact, the other 2 DUIs occurred in January and again in February or March. So the other DUI arrests happened still while Biden was president. So we have multiple arrests, but yet state police were not allowed to report him or even investigate whether he was here legally. And they certainly could not report him to federal authorities who could have taken him into custody and deported him. And that would have saved the life of a woman who was here legally. But that's not the way Democrats do things. It's all about a cause. They get a cause in mind and they just are stubborn as asses. And it doesn't matter if it costs you your life, their cause is more important. Remember, these are the same asses who believe that words kill people. No, they don't kill people, you jackasses. Words are for debate. All right. Physical assault kills people. That's why during the BLM riots, dozens of people actually did die, but yet the Democrats call them mostly peaceful protests. Meanwhile, you have people like this who are DUIs, but because they are here illegally, and that somehow raises them morally to a higher standard because they came here illegally, they're out there killing our residents and citizens who are here legally. No regard for human lives on the left. This is a good reason for you to consider never, ever, ever, ever voting Democrat again, and make sure your friends and relatives know. Be the pain in the ass to them and tell them, do not vote Democrat, because this is what could happen. How would you like to justify to the young mother and her daughter and their family that it was okay? Yeah, it's okay to have illegals here. All illegals don't drive drunk. But the fact is, he was not supposed to be here. No illegal is supposed to be here. So the fact that somebody died as a result, the blood is on your hands if you voted Democrat. Simple as that. It is. 8:56, Patterson City Councilman and mayoral candidate Luis Velez faces charges for setting off a fire alarm at City Hall last September. Surveillance video captured the 58-year-old activating the alarm during the Dominican Day parade with no emergency present. So this seems to be something the left loves to do. If you're pissed off about something, you pull the fire alarm. Remember, another congressman who was from New York lost re-election because he pulled the fire alarm in Congress to try to prevent a vote that the Republicans wanted. This is what Democrats love to do, not even thinking that you might be costing someone their life, because by pulling that alarm, the fire department must by law respond. And now that means they can't go to a heart attack or another accident or a fire because they're responding to your false alarm. Velez is a Fifth Ward Democrat, was charged with third-degree false public alarm. His attorney calls the charges politically motivated. Why? I don't know. Vowing a strong defense, but I guess the video showing him pulling the alarm, I guess that is not a strong defense on the other side. Mayor's office condemned the act as unbecoming of a public official. Velez is also under investigation for, yes, an alleged drunk driving incident in May. 8:57 in Passaic, a tragic incident has led to the arrest of 48-year-old Nakisha Martin. Authorities say Martin intentionally killed her 6-year-old autistic son and attempted suicide at their Spear Village home. Police discovered the boy dead July 15th, with Martin found alive. She faces second-degree child endangerment charges, carrying up to 10 years in prison. The cause of the boy's death awaits autopsy results, and no homicide charges have yet been filed. And an autopsy or other homeowner in Lodi fatally shot his basement tenant, 33-year-old Amir Ali, in a tragic case of mistaken identity. Bergen County prosecutor Mark Musella says Ali attempted to forcibly enter the Garibaldi Avenue home with a spear-like object, in the process breaking a window, and the homeowner believed that Ali was an armed intruder, so fired 3 shots, killing him in the process. Authorities now investigating. No charges have been announced. And finally, that 26-foot mink whale that died after colliding with a motorboat in Barnegat Bay was found to be malnourished, according to a necropsy by the Marine Mammal Stranding Center. The adult female whale was stranded in Double Creek Channel, showed signs of thinness with superficial cuts, bruising, and an empty digestive tract. The collision happened near Long Beach Island. It nearly capsized the boat, sending a passenger overboard. Biological samples are currently under analysis. The whale was buried right there on the beach. Always sad to see a whale die. And that is on New Jersey Mornings at 8:59. Meteorologist Mike Favetta says clouds, areas of smoke reducing visibility, high to about 80. We'll see you again tomorrow morning, right here, starting at 7 a.m. And remember, we can be found on 15 platforms for this. You never any not to watch.